Wearing flip-flops.
Is that going to be over by next week?
What's that?
Is that going to be over by next Saturday?
I just got news today, and I hope Sam Stanovich doesn't see this early, is our Gasparilla plans got canceled because the tide is not in our favor to get down the river with the boat.
Oh, okay.
And so we will not be floating amongst the revelers.
Did you say
in the Mardi Gras type environment that brings many beads were expected. Many beads.
So you're getting snow, though.
The pictures that have the snow, though, I think it's
Tallahassee's getting snow. I said it would freeze over when something happened, and it just happened.
I was worried about you. I was sending you texts. I was worried about you.
Worried?
That's what co-hosts do in snowstorms.
Yeah, but nerds, we cut the belly over something and crawl inside. This is what Star Wars has taught us. We're good.
Oh, fuck. This stuff works. I got to put that away.
Okay, so Dominic, hold on. Dominic and I are going to have a conversation here about our partner.
Yeah.
He clearly doesn't enjoy what he's doing with these beverages.
No.
And we're kind of food people, right? We like good flavors and tastes and smells.
Well, it's a testament to his resilience and his determination, I think. That's what I was saying.
That's what Duckworth was writing about the whole time. If you got a shitty drink, drink more shitty drinks. That's grit.
There might be a part of that what you just said happen here soon. So just so you know.
Oh Lord! First he said it, then he did it. It's a psychosomatic, and then everything kicks into line.
So if I start sweating, you know why?
I see you excuse yourself. I see the house is on fire, and you had to put something out, and then come back discreetly and just blow smoke.
I've had to do that a few times. Internet's going down.
I had almost burned a house down once because I didn't want to be discovered what I left behind. But that's a different story.
Gentlemen, we have a great show lined up. We're live streaming tonight.
Yeah, and I mean, have some decorum here. This is a really important guest. He has a strong message too. I know a little bit about them.
I know, like I knew you knew. Didn't I tell you when I told you that you would know them?
No.
Yeah, you did. I know you did. We got a great guest tonight, and it's gonna be awesome. And you know what? I love this topic when we talk about AI and reducing labor and being able to help restaurants with profitability, because we sure need that. And I think it's going to be a great conversation tonight. What do you think, Beck?
I think if we get the intro right, it'll set the tone for everything.
All I have to say is make sure I spell your name right.
It's a 4-letter word. Bravo Echo Charlie Kilo. You got this.
I tried hard. I used AI for this.
No, but he didn't misspell your last name, Michael.
Okay, good. At least I'm related to Gorbachev these days. You know, just heel back. It's good.
All right, well, gentlemen, let's go because our guests are waiting.
Let's run the intro.
Here we go. Welcome back. Did you see it?
Welcome, Cijoy. Yeah, that was awesome, Jay.
You didn't see it back.
I like the music.
Did you see it?
I like the music.
The intro? I was too busy grooving to the funky beats. I actually didn't
you turned I noticed you turned your head.
Yeah, it's like that horrible moment when the server or the guy at the counter is waiting for the tip and he looks away right as you're putting the $5 in the jar and you want him to see it so bad. Nope. Denied.
ADHD a little high today.
Amplified.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we'll be good.
So Joy, welcome so much to the Late Night Restaurant Show. Welcome. Thank you. What we do with all of our guests before Dominic asks long-winded questions is we like to learn a little bit about you and everything about your company, a little bit about you. Where does this all start and all the good stuff? So we're going to throw it over to you.
Where does it start? So how far back should I go? Just industry
Pre-
stuff?
pre-
Like Wayne's World music.
Preteens.
Back at the
So
beginning.
yeah, back in the day, back when I was a kid growing up in Chicago, tinkering with everything and taking things apart, seeing how they worked, and eventually became an engineer. Did that for a little while for some good old companies you might have heard of, like US Robotics and 3Com back in the 90s, making modems. So
Wow.
Well, how many baud was
yeah.
it in your day? Was that like,
No, I joined in
300
the era
baud?
when 56K
Okay.
was at the scene. I think the slowest thing I ever had was like a 14.4, but by the time I got a hold of one and had my unlimited AOL account, good old days
Yeah.
where you had patience while everything dialed up and connected. Right.
Forget if you had to burn stuff back then.
Yep. Took a long time to get anything downloaded. Since then, did that, did engineering, but then found my way into big IT with Price Waterhouse in the 90s doing ERP implementations, like such as SAP and things like that. Rollouts for the big Fortune hundreds around the planet. Lots of fun, lots of growth personally, professionally. Then 2012, I decided I needed to get off the road, try to be a better dad, and joined a company called Brinker, which at that point in time was kind of the smallest company I'd ever been associated with. It sounds hilarious in hindsight, but because my clients before that were Lenovo, HP, IBM, folks of
You
that.
joined Brinker?
Yeah, I joined Brinker. Yep, Brinker.
Was Norman still leading at the time? Was he was in place then, no? Or
no, he had passed away, so unfortunately never got a chance to meet him. Obviously, learned a lot about the core of hospitality based on his teachings and such. So helped quite a bit. I was fortunate to get involved there. It was just Chili's and Maggiano's, like it still is today.
Wow.
Got involved. The person who hired me was the head of HR. She's the chief people officer. Told her I know nothing about this industry. Yeah,
That's
I
awesome.
can name off 6 industries that I know fairly
instantly
well.
hireable because you bring fresh perspective, right? So yeah, good.
Well, I will tell you, my interview with her, I said, look, let me give you all the reasons why you shouldn't hire me. And here's basically like, let me give you all the objections because I would object too. But I'm happy to mitigate my lack of knowledge by getting into one of your restaurants and working my ass off for 30 days unpaid or whatever it takes for me to learn it.
Wow, you wanted that.
Wow, that's brilliant. That's a good move.
Yeah. I mean, my desperation was like, I wanted to not travel anymore, see my kid grow up. So I'm all in, whatever you want. If I get to go home at night, that's all I was looking for. I don't care how many hours I put in. I'm used to it. That's what I enjoy anyway.
Is there HQ in Texas? Is that where?
Yeah, Dallas. Yep.
Got it.
At that point, I'd already moved to Dallas, and I'd been here for quite a while, but didn't know anybody in Dallas because I'd never worked in Dallas my entire career. But Brinker was great. Got thrown in the deep end, had given charter to go revamp a good chunk of the IT department in 30 days.
What? Wow.
Yeah. Gauntlet was thrown down. I was like, all right, cool, let's go. Again, for me, coming from where I come from, that's the norm. So went through that process. Again, learned a ton more about the internals of this organization and about the industry and all the tech and everything underneath it. So it was great for me coming in, not knowing anything about POS before getting involved in the space. And through that, continued to stay in the space, restaurant space. Because when I looked up around me, I realized, Dallas is actually a real hub for what's going on in restaurants, not only in large brands, but to tech vendors, other vendors. There's a lot of it around me. I had not recognized that ecosystem because I had just never known this industry at all. I do like to say after about 90 days of being in the space, I was ready to get the heck out because I couldn't deal with with this. It's like, hey, look, I used to worry about distributing compute hardware throughout the planet and stuff like that. Now it's a lot harder to get a cheeseburger out on a plate within 12 minutes than it is to build Yeah, it's his own complexity, right? It's like Ernest Perez was the Chili's leader that trained me. He's Maggiano's leader now. I told Ernest, I'm like, look, man, I don't know how you deal with it. It's like you don't know who's going to walk in that door as a customer. You don't know who's going to walk in your back door as an employee. You don't know what food is gonna show up from your distributors, and you don't know what's gonna break in the building. I said, this is just absolute chaos. So I don't know how you deal with it. And soon after that, I had a conversation with Pankaj, who I was fortunate enough that he rejoined right as I had just started, and he joined my team. Eventually became CIO there, and he's currently CIO at Raising Cane's. I told him, cynically, I said, I'm taking all these years of experience and training, and I'm using it to drive overconsumption of food and alcohol. Like, what am I doing here? And
but you're at the root of why they made Ozempic later, so you're probably helped.
Yeah,
in the long run. This is the butterfly effect of goodness that your life has provided.
So I sat there going, I'm doing everything I can to push more chips and quesos and stuff like that into people. And he said, look, I've been in this industry since my career got started, and the reason I'm here and I stick with it is because there's 60,000 people that come to work every day. They depend on our systems to work properly, and we have 1 million people come in the building every day. They expect our systems to work properly, and all the families, both on the customer side or guest side as well as our employee side, are depending on this stuff to be seamless. I took a step back and I'm like, okay, you've got me. You gave me a mission. You gave me a purpose here, and that's a challenge I want to take on. I want to make it better for everybody.
Nice.
So wait, one question, because I didn't know if I heard the answer to that. Did you do the month for free before you start working? She passed on.
No. So she looked at me and said, you're right. Like, you don't know anything about this industry, but you're going to learn. She gave me the you're going to learn today. Yeah. And she said, I will take you up on putting you in the restaurant and making you go open to close so you learn it, but I'll pay you for it. I said, hey, whatever, I'm in. And so, again, if it wasn't for her back in August of 2012, I wouldn't be sitting in this spot today.
Nice.
That's crazy.
And how long were you there then? After
I was there a little over a year, and then I moved on from there, and then I started consulting into the local scene around here. There's quite a bit of restaurants and stuff around here, so I consulted to a bunch of them for a while, and then sometime later became CIO for Fogo. Fogo de Chão is a Brazilian steakhouse concept. Big down here in the US. I'm maybe up in Toronto now, I think. And then shortly after that, I was
they're coming to Toronto. They are.
Yeah. Good. You'll enjoy it. And then shortly after that, I was CIO for Red Lobster. And then
No way.
Yeah.
These guys are heavy hitters.
So, which is big in Canada, which is hilariously awesome that they're actually such a big powerhouse in Canada.
Very
And
big.
They're still doing okay up here. I don't know. Are they still closing locations down in the States, or?
I think that period is over with for them. I think they're stable on their unit count now. But Canada was always when I was there, it was a shining star relative to the US in terms of performance.
Why is that?
We like
Probably
our
for Olive
seafood.
Garden it was. I think just because of the scarcity of seafood restaurants in some of the major cities in Canada. Like Red Lobster here in Calgary was always on fire. Same with Olive Garden, right? There's a few places that have them left. I don't think there's a Red Lobster left in Toronto though. Even I'm not sure.
Yeah, there is. Well, it's in Mississauga.
It's in Mississauga.
Yeah, it's a
Close enough.
flashback.
Yeah.
It's flashback.
Yeah.
It's a flashback.
So so is that after that? Did you go on to your own, Cijoy? Is that where was your last corporate gig before you started GM Pilot?
So yeah, after that I did some confidential work for some PE groups for a period of time, and GM Pilot was something that I've been this, like I said, my life had been about automation for such a long time that when I took, again, goes back to don't hire me, but I do know 6 other large global industries, and I cross-pollinate best practices across all of them.
Yeah, that's great.
But then that's when, it's like looking at the state of the world. It's like, yeah, the GMs are getting overwhelmed. Their workload is getting heavier. Their tenures are getting shorter. The demands are going higher, both from guests, technology, all the new channels that have like sprouted up for where demand is coming from, and all these things that they have to manage. It's like, this is just getting out of hand. So I said, well, it's about time maybe we start doing some of this for them, right? And that's essentially the idea that stuff that I used to do, which is business process outsourcing. Take this workload, give it to somebody else. And we're like, well, we can take the workload, but we're not going to say ship it overseas to Eldonia. That's non-existent country, so I'm not trying to offend anybody. It's from Dilbert.
Is it really? That's great.
So sending it over there. I mean, when I was with Hewlett Packard, I had a team of 300 doing, data analytics for me up in Romania, and incredible number of PhDs, and doing things like finding out what the right right things to recommend and attach and all that stuff. So I've been around that for a long time, but it was a lot of brute force with a lot of math and lots of humans running it. But in this day and age, there is more capable tooling to do that kind of thing. So I said, all right, well, what if we take that and apply it into space? And talking with Alonzo, my business partner on it, who, he's been in the industry for like 30 years. So he's far deeper of an operator than I'll ever be. I'm not an operator. I just like to hang out with him. And it's like, he got it. And to his credit, he caught on immediately to where I was going with it. He's like, oh, there's so many things we could do here. Like, we can automate, how much we spend on ads, how much we spend on purchasing, how we handle OLO throttling, right?
Thanks, Andrew.
All these things that to manage the supply and demand management of what's coming in the door, what do we need to purchase, and everything else, right? So yeah, it's like, but I said, look, let's start with the fundamentals. Let's go back to core cost. Let's go back to labor and inventory. And between the two of them, labor is universal. Like, that's we've got external forces of labor costs rising, the job market's getting more difficult, and there's also fair work week laws that have been around for a bit, and they're challenging to keep up with, and to prove that you kept up with it as well. So all those factors coming together, there's no way a GM can win this game. And our point of view is, if the game is won and lost by how well a GM performs. And if we can help that GM do tasks like this, which are things that they normally would have to sit down and spend hours on end to try to sort these things out, if we can do it for them and do it better and do it consistently, then we give them a better chance of succeeding. And it goes back to something that we talked about for forever that I've been around, is that, we don't want the GMs to sit around being spreadsheet jockeys, right? That's not something that we hire them for.
Well, it's funny that you say that. Companies say that, but then they give them all these spreadsheets to fill out, right? They give them all these reports to do, and then they say, hey, you're not spending enough time with your people. That's why you've got a high turnover rate and staff, it's awesome that we're getting to that, because that was going to be my point, is if that frees up the GM to spend even a half an hour more per day, and I'm sure it's more than that, but to spend with their people, guess what? You find out what's going on, right?
Well,
you know how your staff feels. You know how you can support them.
I was going to say also, Dominic, where's GM school? No one knows, right? Like, no one sent. Usually it's GMs.
Well, so JT, right? It really is. And I think to Cijoy's point, these, the tenures are shorter, which means the wisdom pool is less on, or just the general knowledge of all the best practices and how to optimize things like scheduling and really do a good job of it. And I think one of the big problems is instrumentation. If they don't have the knowledge, they need the tools to tell them the right info.
And did
you're Einstein tonight?
like the amount of those tenured staff and the senior staff that have been around a long time. A lot of those, as much as people came into the industry, a lot of that talent left.
So Beck, you want to comment? You want to give us another?
No, I don't need to do a parable every time, and I think the guest is far more interesting than I'll ever be. But if I do want to know is but then you and Alonzo looked at what the opportunities are, right? And where do you really like? Because there's gold dust everywhere to capture in a restaurant, but where was the mine?
So I'll give you the mine is not where we thought it was going to be. Like where we started. Yeah, this is the age-old listen to your customers.
You're digging in Jay's backyard.
Advice, right? So, when I looked at it, my thought process was, let's just take this one task away that they don't like doing. They're never going to be incredibly great at it because it takes so much time and effort. So let me just do the scheduling. Let's just take the scheduling, keep the system stuff in place. Like, we're not changing software. We're just adding a different body, so to speak, to do the work. So let's just do that task. It's a complicated task, but it's a significant task. But we got coached by Ingrid, who I'd worked with at Red Lobster. She's like, you know who Ingrid is?
And I met her at, I think it was FS Tech. I spent some time with her. Super smart lady. Yeah.
Ingrid is it, right? So Ingrid opens her mouth, you should listen. All right. So Ingrid's like, look, it's sharp of you to go after this topic of writing an optimized schedule. That's great. She goes, but people don't ever execute to it. So if you can find out where they're not executing to it, that's where the money is being lost. It's not in the plan, it's in the execution. And I'm like, okay. Like, my brain's going, oh man, it's hard. Now I got to go jump across systems and do all the work. And my software architect brain's going, that's like double, triple the work that I set off to go do. But then, our first customer that talked to us, their head of operations was like, look, I'm doing this audit every day by hand. I'm spot checking. I know that there's locations where labor is leaking out the door, and I just can't keep up with it. And it's like, yeah, show me what you're doing. And he showed us the process and said, okay, it's taking you as a VP of ops over an hour to do analysis on one location. You're never going to keep up. You can't just do spot check once. You've got to do continuously. So he's like, I need this. I said, okay, well, like Ingrid told me this. My customers told me this. Let's go do that. And so that we took a step back, did that part. That led to the consequences of that. Positive ones were, we found leakage, but we also found, we can do break analysis now. So for Fair Workweek laws, if people are supposed to take breaks, we can track all that now too. So now we can audit that and report out on it and show who's taking their breaks, who's not, who's skipping out on shifts often, who's milking the clock here and there, who's buddy punching. So all these things that the system's supposed to stop, and they do, but obviously with this, you can tell who's got the manager codes and who's bypassing the managers to get through. So in one sense, it's like, that's the first platform, the first component we have, we call it ground control. And ground control is, again, sticking with the area, all the themes about GM pilot and so on. It's like we leaned into that and said, okay, this is ground control. We're going to track where you're losing money and where people are not following the plan. So where all the variances are. So it yielded, surprisingly, that gold mine was about 3% of profitability. Wow. Yeah, we were shocked because the first, when I envisioned it from a tech side, I was thinking about full service dining. We were in on a quick service place with about 15 employees, not 50, 60 employees on the roster. I didn't think we'd find much. The VP of ops is like, I told you. CFO's like,
my skills are tight.
CFO knew there was a little bit, but he was like, it's every CFO we talk to feels like they got stabbed in the chest.
Oh,
because, and then we have this visual now. We say, look, this is the below the water line. If you imagine an iceberg, The top of the iceberg is your overtime. Very visible. Everyone's on top of that. The next part of that iceberg above the waterline is labor as a percentage of sales. And you look at it and go, hey, if you're not right on that number, we know you're probably not right. But below that, the bigger chunk of the iceberg is what we call UPT, or unplanned paid time.
Or time theft.
What was that again?
There's a nicer term. I like the term.
Unplanned paid time, UPT, unplanned paid time.
And if you go to a bank and do unplanned paid, that's called robbery.
Yeah. No, it could be just.
Well, if you change the key to, never mind.
UPT became the thing that ground control looks for, right? And it's all variances. And we're like, how much could these paper cuts be? You know, someone goes a little 15 minutes over here, 15 minutes over there. There's only 15 people. How bad could it be? But yeah, it ended up being 3%. And then
Is that like that all the time?
The scheduling?
So, is it around 3 to 5? Like, is it in that ballpark?
Yeah. So the first module, we easily grab 3. And when you layer the other two in, it ladders up to about 5%. And that's
what are the other two modules?
So there's ground control, which is about UPT, all the analysis of non-compliance to the schedule. And then there's flight school, which is performance benchmarking, where you start looking at location A versus B. They do about the same volume, but however, this person's stacking an extra 3-4 bodies extra per hour because they feel they need it. But layer that in with, we also want to make sure that, hey, the GMs have everything in front of them, tell the story about transaction volumes there, the weather, if there's adverse weather at that hour that it happened or that period of time that you want to slice into.
Right.
So that's shown out. Where all the names of everybody and all the roles they're in is all laid out as well too. So you can see just, from by design, or like, let's just make all the names stack up. So if you see a whole bunch of names, there's a big stack of people there. So you have a nice little ASCII art type of view of the whole thing. We also introduced a thing that we call UFOs. UFOs are unexpected freaky order. This is I had a school bus full of kids show up. Freaky order.
It's always in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Oh, you haven't been to Saskatchewan
and New Mexico. Yeah.
So are you borrowing terms from the IT world? Like how did you come up with ground school, like flight school? It's obviously air related, but what precipitated that? What made that happen to borrow from
that? Calling it a GM pilot, because it's like, hey, you can buy a great aircraft, but if you don't have a pilot to fly it, then that was kind of the idea. Like, what's it take? Whether it's an F1 driver or an airplane pilot, got a great complicated machine that can do a lot, but you got to have someone who can fly it.
You gotcha.
Yeah. But yeah, UFOs are fun because UFOs help with I always get slammed. There's always a school bus of kids that shows up and orders like 100 grilled cheeses. It's like, no, that happened once a quarter. You don't need to plan for it.
Right.
But that also helps on the other side of it. If a UFO does happen, it shows, hey, this is why my throughput went down. And maybe my customer sat went down for a moment because I did get slammed and everyone got hurt by it.
What's the
and CSAT score same time?
GMs? Sorry, Michael.
You first, please.
Yeah. What's the buy-in from the GMs? Like, do they see it as a threat?
No. For the GMs,
welcome it?
Yeah, it's pretty welcome with open arms because it's number one, when we get to flight planner, where we actually build out the schedule. Like, this is not a task I liked anyway.
Oh.
So
wow.
It's like, I love being a GM, but sitting down and building the schedule and is the last thing on my mind when I'm trying to get out the door.
Sorry, just before you go on to the next thing, does GM Pilot then take that info, this new schedule, and give it back to their time and attendance module? What is it? Does it transmit it back?
So that's the fun part. So we log into the scheduling system and we actually go plug the schedule in.
Nice.
So good old agent. Yeah. We keep it high tech.
Really?
No, And our agent or pilot goes in there and does a
Okay, yeah,
flight
cool.
plan. Yeah.
Yeah.
So flight planner will take in. So that's the last step of it. But before that, you can feed in rules about, hey, this is a location that's urban. I want this labor model applied to this location. I want these core rules, such as always open to 2 people, close to 2 people. GM should be scheduled, every other day.
What about
Assistant
ratings of
GMs.
higher caliber employees in the
Oh
mix
yeah,
of that, right? Your
all
star
that
and
too.
your
Yep. Bring, take performance analysis on people, and people that do really well selling appetizers, stack them up on Friday nights.
So Cijoy, I got a question here. Is who's the ideal customer? Is there a certain amount of units that make sense here? Like, is it can I be a small chain?
Yeah, I think all this stuff becomes pretty material when you're, let's say, 25 to 50 million in revenue. Then that 3% is not chump change anymore, and you've also gotten to a position where you can't really hire as many incredible GMs as you used to, because the supply is running low. So you
that
take a
across the
GM.
big system, not everybody's gonna be a rock star anyways, right? So this
Right.
levels the playing field.
Yep, brings everybody up.
Hey, so what about employees that are lumpy? What do you call them? The ones that anomalously have more of these unscheduled breaks, or
DC-10 or something, right? Like,
yeah, or what are they? Are they the aliens? Like,
So we observe and report. We don't judge, right? So for us, it's like, hey, this is what happened.
right, but
Now
they're
we
blobbed out. They're visible. Like they can make a decision based on that.
Right. Yeah. If you think back to the era of like when I was at Aloha, or with Chili's, and we had Aloha, our Bill, he's gonna find it hilarious to remember his name, but he was our head of loss prevention. He kept on my case, like, hey, I need you to roll out this product from Aloha or from NCR called what's it called again?
Was it Pulse then, or
No, it was pre-Pulse, but it was Restaurant Guard. I think that was the name of it, if I remember
is that
right.
part of Nebo?
If I remember, yeah, it was part of the back office. Yeah, I think it was called Restaurant Guard, if I remember right. So, any Aloha heads out there can correct us if I got the name wrong. But I'm like, look, dude, I got 67 other projects in front of you. They're all revenue related, and I can't let any of these slip. But we got the other projects done, and we're like, hey, we got some time left. Guys, can we get the Restaurant Guard rolled out for Bill? And they're like, yeah, let's do it. Let's just make it happen. So we did. And he's like, thank you so much. And because we have this visibility now, we're able to take action against people that were doing things nefariously and cleaned out the system.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I think when they announced it, quite a few people left. And that's not to say anything negative about Chili's. It's just this common practice everywhere I went that someone was rolling out Restaurant Guard. The folks that were not doing the right thing were like, I'm out of here. So you couldn't hide.
The sun was coming out.
Yeah. And again, we're not doing this we didn't start off doing this from, hey, this is about bad actors. It was just like, hey, this is just about coaching. And I mean, I was a knucklehead 14-year-old when I was on a punch clock, and no one advised me that, hey, you need to punch out when your shift is over. I was like told, just punch out when you leave. I was like, well, okay, I'm done with my work. I'm working at a computer store, so I'm over here monkeying with network switches and stuff, and then I would leave. But I might have gotten an extra 20 minutes on my payroll from doing something like that.
Yeah.
Bad children are usually the result of bad parenting, right? And so I think the same applies on management. If the team's running loose, that I think you look upstream that way.
Yeah, and with all the things they have in front of them, how can they look over the shoulder? They can't be in the building all the time.
Yeah.
Like one of our clients, they tell their franchise partners, you can't be in the building every day. You may want to be, but you can't be. But GM Pilot can be there every single day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, just maybe because it might help demystify the audience if they're thinking that they have to. This is a replacement of their scheduling tool. This is an enhancement to their current. Is that true? I want to make sure I'm right on that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So There's no software with what we're doing. We are just running as if you had a super agent in the cloud or anywhere running away, running the systems for you, and then we just communicate back via email. So the GM or anybody upstream gets a message about, hey, here's your ground control report, or here's your flight school analysis, and I built the schedule for you for the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks or however long you want it. These were the objectives that I needed to hit when building that schedule. Here's what I was successful at doing, and here's maybe something I wasn't able to do because there wasn't someone available on Friday morning to go do it. But do all that and then publish out the schedule, and it's give the GM a shot to review it if they choose to. And then most places we do like a 2-day, we do that 2 days in advance of when the schedule has to be published. So if the GM knows I've got a big basketball game coming up this weekend, it's not in the sales forecast, then I know I need to staff a little extra, so I'll pad it. And then whether they push it or not, we go back in and push it to make sure that we hit the compliance on being published on time.
Wow.
It's Cijoy, aren't there states now that are asking you like ridiculous amounts of time in advance to schedule, like 4 weeks or something?
2 weeks typically.
2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks. Yeah.
It's like law?
California, Chicago, and Philadelphia.
Oh, I knew California was going to be in there.
Well, we designed everything for California to begin with, so
is that what you do?
Since 2012, yeah. Make it work for Cali. It'll work everywhere.
Yep,
it'll work everywhere.
Yeah.
And we tend to hear that a lot, eh?
Yeah,
tend to hear that a lot. Cijoy, so when you look at this, so you must be like, when you look at this program, it must be custom. Like you customize it for every location. It's not templated so much. You're adjusting and making it for every. Because you're working with massive accounts, like massive restaurant chains.
Right.
So you're probably, how long does that take? Is that a long process?
It's always longer than we want, but it's always at the pace of our client, right? So it's we do a thing we call aerial view, which is our precursor to everything else, where we kind of do a forensic audit of what does the opportunity look like. That typically, you dump hundreds of locations on us, thousands of locations on us, give us about 2 weeks, and we'll come back with an analysis of it. It's going to be about 100 pages per location of analytics that comes back.
Wow.
Obviously, we'll give you a summary, of course, to help you, but the important part is, whether you go forward with this or not, you've got a set of reports that you can distribute to your DOs or area directors. They can jump right into it, drill into a day, and look at what was going on that day, like where the opportunities were.
That's crazy. Well, first of all, very interesting.
Yeah,
I don't think we've ever had anyone this smart, Dominic, on the show before. Sorry about that.
You better hope not, because y'all are going to be called dumb right after this. So
Jay's. Yes, we've had a lot of very smart people on the show, and we're incredibly honored to have you join that.
All lummoxes. They pale in comparison to your giant brain, Cijoy.
What you're doing is very cool, though, and it sounds like the payback is immediate, like 1 week. The first week you implement it, you've made probably your money back and some, because the savings across a big system would be massive. They'd be massive.
Yeah, it is. It's very quick.
I was going to say, like, if you could move it 0.5% or 1%, it'd be massive.
Right. I know 5% is huge, though.
Well, I think there's another part that maybe I'm stealing your thunder, but I know this about you. In full disclosure, we did some stuff together, going to a trade show, and learned a lot about them. It's the revenue model that I love. I think it's so gutsy.
Right.
All right. It's literally put your money where your mouth is, and say, I don't want to just support that, but I think it's something worth knowing.
Yeah. So for us, when we do the aerial view, that's something that we'll do really just to prove out to both of ourselves, is there meat on this bone? Is there value in us working together? If there is, then it's going to get quantified, and you'll see the process and how we follow things for you Canadians.
Oh, I'm sorry. I went with the regional dialect.
Yeah, regional dialect.
Yeah, correct that. Don't worry, it corrects it.
You're going to start saying sorry too? So.
Yeah, sorry.
Maybe not.
Sorry.
I'll order some poutine from somewhere. I'll make it myself when we're
Okay,
done
sorry.
here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
More a boot, yeah.
What?
a boot.
More a boot. A boot.
no.
About?
All right, let's find out what this revenue model is all about.
Yeah. So
focus. Thank you, Beck.
yeah. So the revenue model for us is like, hey, we believe that if it's going to be a win, it's got to be a win for everybody. It's got to make you money. It's got to, and if it doesn't, then we shouldn't be doing it. So for us, yeah, we do the aerial view. With that, we do the discovery of how much value there is, and we have a conversation. It's like, okay, this is what we found, and we do essentially the found money approach. Like, we're not asking for anything until you actually are able to identify what you can recover.
Well, good for you.
And then we go from there.
And what's been like kind of the I mean, there's surprise, right? And then I'm sure there's that moment where they go, wait a minute, we're paying you too much for the money that we didn't have, or is that what? How's that? It feels like there's something like that happens every now and then.
Hasn't been. It's been hilarious. They're like, here's how much we discover, and then the next step, typically from CFO, is here's how much I can recover falling out of bed, and we'll give you a portion of that. And our answer is fine. That works well for us, and that's healthy for all of us. It's like keeps us going, keeps the brands going. One of our CFOs is like, look, if I'm gonna lift by 5%, that changes the entire growth trajectory for my organization as well as the franchisees, because now franchisee can go, we used to live in a world where labor is 22%, but if that labor is really 17, then I can go get better locations, which means higher revenue, higher results for my franchisee, higher results for me as a franchisor. I stand out among my peer group, and we've also enabled some workload reduction and profitability increase for them. So it becomes a competitive advantage to say, work with us. We give you proper tooling to help you be successful.
Can you also
more hours for employees, no new stores opening up, like everything happens from there.
Yeah. The good employees start realizing that, hey, the bad ones are out. And the good ones are like, okay, I can go back to being productive again, because if I'm watching my peers kind of milking the clock and getting away with it, then I'm not being rewarded for my efficiency or my productivity. So I might as well throttle back.
Well, you once said something I thought was really insightful, and I never thought about it before, that while somebody else is taking those hours off the schedules, they're not being given to people that really might need them, or that might deserve that extra time because they either meritocracy or whatever the case may be. They don't have that. They can't allocate it because it's been taken.
Yeah, absolutely. This actually goes back to my training with Chili's with Ernest. I said, Ernest, how the heck do you handle this? He's like, it's pretty easy. He goes, and it's counterintuitive to what I learned, in the Fortune 100, which was, he goes, I come in, he goes, every building has leaders. There's leaders on going in the right direction, and leaders going in the wrong direction. And the people in the middle are looking for which one of these leaders is going to win. And all I do is I come in and eliminate the negative leaders from the room. And when that happens, he goes, I don't have to coach the top people. That they're going to do the right thing no matter what. They're going to be who they are. But the middle people are looking for, hey, who's the person I copy? And so he's like, if you remove the negative people from the room, all that's left is the good examples, and everybody's moves upward to lift up towards a good example. He goes, that's my secret to turning around locations. Because when I joined, he was known as a turnaround artist. I'm like, okay, neat. I'm like, work with the turnaround artist. Yeah. And so that stuff, I mean, it's stuck with me like 12 years later when we're building this. Is like, hey, we know that you remove, I mean, we had in the corporate world, the large corporation stuff, it's like you remove people that are antagonistic to the objectives of the organization, and everyone gets healthier automatically.
Yeah, I love that. For some reason,
amazing.
it pops in my head the parables of the two wolves, right? That there's two wolves always fighting inside you. One's evil and dark, and one's light. And how do you know which one wins? And the grandfather says, "But the one you feed."
Right.
And so feed the good habits. I love that.
Yeah.
I'll tell you
Yeah.
one thing not to have is this coffee. It's made my stomach so bad. It's killing me.
I'm trying to figure out
I'm so
pop it off
sorry.
the camera, man.
I know I had
you
to. I had to go off the camera because my stomach, I'm about to die.
I
So,
slipped you one of those Dumb and Dumber drinks.
oh my
What?
God.
You should move to tea at night. HTO, one of our clients. So
I love
What is it?
HTO.
yeah,
Their peach is the bomb.
yes,
What? It's
Uh,
HTO?
Mhm.
Is that
yes,
water?
HTO,
HTO.
Yep.
really
HTEAO.
cool.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
great brand.
Yeah, drive through, you get big gallon jugs of iced tea. I was like,
Don't drink this
I've never
foam crap.
worked in a million years. I'm like, this is amazing because their product is so damn good.
It's incredibly good.
Yeah.
So, Joy,
Basically
thanks so
hummingbird juice
much.
for people.
Thanks so much for joining us and telling us how do they get to GM Pilot? Like when I typed in GM Pilot, it was top of the list. So whatever you're doing is right. I was worried I was going to get either General Motors, the car, or
Right.
Honda Pilot.
That's true. That's true. Good point. Yeah.
But
He hacked the algorithm.
No comment.
Damn you.
Well, I want to ask you a question before we wrap it up because I apologize. I had a stupid coffee at the stupid foam. Cijoy, is that? Do you find what's back?
I'm just mouthing you stupid foam, and right as you're going, you go, yes, it makes me poo. I'm sorry. And now, sorry, you got what you deserve.
It makes me not feel well. Anyways, where's your plans on taking GM Pilot next? Do you have plans to get into other areas of the business?
We can. I mean, we have an optimization engine that lets us go into proper ordering. Again, like we're not trying to replace any software. We're there to just run the software as a pilot for that software. So we can layer into the inventory side of things on, hey, you've got a good inventory done. Cool. Let's go and fire the order off. We can do that side of it. We could go easily into online order management. Like, hey, I know I can't really handle this much volume. I need to throttle this way or that way. Going into the day, we could do that. We've had conversations with people about injecting marketing. It's like, hey, can you manage the digital marketing? If we bought a really good digital marketing platform, but we don't have a marketing analyst that can run it, can you build a GM Pilot to sit on top of that? So yeah, all those things are readily available.
I need that right now. Somebody to manage my marketing.
Well, but there's another question you stole from me, Dominic, but I want to ask as well. Like, will you ever get out of the restaurant industry and go into other industries too?
No, at this point we've said, look, we both have our depth of experience and focus is restaurants. Let's nail it there. I mean, we've had the conversations for, hey, can you take a side road into C-stores or any of these other things that there's labor involved? I'm like, we technically could, but we have a lot of people in the restaurant space that we need to help. So
absolutely.
Help them, and then we can go from there.
I always find people like yourself, and I'm trying not to insult our past guests like I did earlier. So is that story to everyone else? Thanks, Beck, for pointing that out. I just find that it's so fascinating because the way you think, and that's what I'm always intrigued. You're like, I love how I know everything has a purpose in what you're doing, and then even the names and everything else, like everything is so well thought out. And I find it so fascinating in our industry where I've worked with so many restaurants today that really need more support when it comes to just strategy planning and just planning out what they're doing next week. You must find it a little bit challenging sometimes when you see that. And it must be, is it a little bit, I don't want to say bugs you, but it must be a little bit challenging going, man, if these people just planned a little bit more, used our program, it would make things a lot better. Do you find that sometimes?
No, I think it's been a beautiful thing for us because every time we get a chance to interact with someone new, we learn more about how beneficial we can be. And people we talk to, when they get it, they get it. And so we have kind of our internal slogan, like, the successful GMs choose GM Pilot. So it's like if you choose us, we're going to do everything. Yeah.
You might get sued by both General Motors and Honda, though. So careful.
Mothers choose Jeff.
Excuse me, mothers choose Jeff. Yes, exactly. That's exactly what it is. So
I I just think it's really cool. I think you're incredible what you're doing. I think your product is very well needed in the industry more and more. And I just want to thank you for joining us on our show tonight. And I apologize, I had to go off camera a few times to
No, not at all.
die on the corner
pleasure.
here.
Hey, since this is a Canadian show, it's worth mentioning. Are you operating on the other side of the border, or do you work in places that are even tighter margins?
We certainly could. Obviously, our relationships and everything have been purely in the United States. So if there is someone that can,
I happen to know two schmuckles that live in Canada.
Well, there's some significant chains up here, and we face the same challenges. The only the thing would be just
we have igloos. That's the only problem, right, Dom?
Well, no. The challenge, I think, is, and they've already got it figured out, is the labor laws, right? Once you get those plugged in, and it's a customizable process. So, yeah.
Are the labor laws different per county in the United States, or is it just state?
It can be down to the city.
It can be. Yeah. It can be down to the city.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Nike.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
no, we thought we had problems.
I thought we had problems. You guys are totally. Wow, have fun with that. Yeah. Anyways, we'll talk to the two schmuckers up here, and I just want to thank you for your time and everything else. And
thank you guys for having me.
Before he goes. So where are you going to be next? Like, I know there's trade show seasons coming up. Or are you going to be at any of the main shows where people can see you? Where's the next place that people can get you and Alonzo firsthand?
Hopefully RLC. We haven't booked anything yet. Maybe we should.
What is RLC for the rest of us that don't know?
Restaurant Leadership Conference.
Okay.
Yes, it is an Informa event.
Yes.
It is fantastic. I also met my wife there, which is one of my favorite reasons. Whenever I hear RLC, I'm like, that was my show.
And is that in New York? Is that in New York?
Arizona.
I think Arizona, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have to give Mark Hatch a call, see if he'll let us in.
Well, I think,
so cool.
Cijoy, what you're doing, I just want to thank you. You're incredible. We love your program. Let's bring it up to Canada. We need it. We need it in Canada. And
bring us through.
Well, we'll help get the word out there for sure. Thanks again.
Thank you, Dominic. Pleasure, guys.
It's always a pleasure.
Nick, always a pleasure, brother.
Absolutely.
Take care, guys.
Bye. Say hi, Alonzo, for me.
Well.
Yeah. Wow.
There you go.
That stuff's
super
incredible.
Smart dude. I
really smarter than all our
gravitas, and I don't think I would have shenaniganed in front of him, but he's also a very kind and patient dude. So I've always valued how he approaches things. Like he's a good and temperate guy.
Do you have to be temperate around me? Is that what you're saying, Beck?
Usually I'm the one that needs the temperate, but I think he had to balance his temperate around this room. Dominic, he's a rock. He's great.
He's solid.
Your face. I'm sorry, but I really want the highlight reel to show either. I didn't know if I just laid down something that was really funny, or you were on the verge of bad destination.
I've done about 1,600 shows. That was probably the closest I've seen a death. Just so you know, I was hurting.
I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I was just going with humor.
Let my listeners know that.
Okay.
Yeah, don't drink the foam with cold coffee.
When you said right before you did, it's a laxative. I don't understand. All right. My name's Super Dave Osborne. I'm about to drink this foam on a 90-minute podcast. Watch me hold it in.
All I have to say is I love these kind of guests. I love all guests we have on. Let me rephrase that because apparently I insulted.
It's time to go, buddy. Shut her down, man.
Well, you can't wrap up.
You're insulting people.
Yeah, you're only digging a hole.
No, I want to bring it back because
Okay, bring it back. Let's see if we can patch this up. He's going to try to land the plane, everybody. I think he needs a GM pilot.
Wow.
Whoa, full circle, right? Good comedy.
Do you work for GM Pilot, GTM? Like there's some similarities even in the naming. What's going on here? Did those guys plant Michael Beck?
Well, I wasn't a shill, but we did do a trade show together and work to do their launch over at I believe it's Mertech.
I like the GTM guy.
It was there last time.
Was it too?
Yeah, you're fixating on my misspelled name.
Just like the intro that I fixed your name. You have to watch it on the outro.
Okay.
Anyways, no, I just want to say is I love the guests that we have on the show, and I really enjoy both of you as our co-host and into this new part of the season and stuff like this. But I do have to mention, because we are going to be at the Chicago show this May.
Yeah, where are we going to see you next, Jay?
Where I'm going to be in Chicago in May
Oh, okay.
at the National Restaurant Association show.
You were really animated by somebody that you said was going to be joining us. Why? Who was it that was so exciting?
Bill
He feigned
Oakley.
ignorance.
Bill Oakley's going to be joining us at our table, as well as the goat, and it's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. And I'm going to just say this before. We've had a really interesting last few days, and you know what?
How you guys doing over there now?
Back. Yeah, it's kind of weird. We're okay. We got.
I don't know.
We got the goat.
It signaled a sign that we don't do pretty publicly a couple of times. I was real surprised about that.
Yeah, we don't go there. But I do have to say, Dominic and myself really appreciate the relationship we have with our American friend, Mr. Beck. So
like you guys do. I'm honestly, I was worried I'm too, and I was gonna be Mr.
No. I think you saved that show, just so you know, because I was about to die. So it was pretty rough. But anyways, it is great. I love I love the topics. I love it. We have I am lining up some really good guests.
So how are you booking these people? You just messaged me earlier about somebody you're just losing your mind about. Oh my God, I got so-and-so. He's a super chef. And oh my God.
We got Rocco coming in here. Rocco from New York off of the restaurant TV shows coming on. We also have Vince. I'm going to screw up his last name. It sounds like a French water. What is it?
I'm not saying it because I might have screwed it up.
I think you screwed it up.
Let's see who gets the bet. Wait.
I think you said bologna. I think you said bologna.
Scaboloni.
Scaboloni.
Anyways, I don't know.
So smart. He's another smart guy. And anyways, he is so smart. He's another smart guy. I don't know. Anyways, he's coming on as well. We got some other guests lined up. And how I book these is just reaching out. I think it's important to always ask.
Don't tell everybody your secret, Jay. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but you know what, Dominic? The thing is that I think it's really funny because he could tell them that they won't do it. Right? It's the asking part that seems.
Well, it's like the recipe. It's like the recipe.
I gotta pick up the phone and they might say no.
It's like the recipe. You tell the people the recipe, they never make the same thing.
No. Go for it. Bust your brains out. It's not gonna be my love. It's not gonna be the attention I gave it. It's not. But did you guys
notice? I don't know if you noticed. Just by the way, before we wrap up, our new podcast. I also changed the logo. I cleaned it up a little bit, updated it. So we got a new logo. So if everyone looks at our new logo on our Spotify and Apple and stuff like this, there's a new logo on there. It looks a little bit more late night.
Yeah, there we go, Jay.
Is his eyes bloodshot? Why is it late night?
It's just you'll see when you look at our. That was a test as well, Mr. Beck.
We gotta go, guys.
All right, got to get to bed as fast as bed.
That's the best thing you could do. You just leave and you're like,
here we go. We're gonna do the intro. This is the outro.
We need drown out
watch
music.
This back.
I'm watching it.
Here we go. Here we go. Watch really close.